The 23rd entry in our continuing series of guilty pleasure movies is 1998's sequel to The Fugitive, U.S. Marshals.
A cross-country manhunt. No one had seen anything like it.
I have.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to divide up and search every house, hospital, hotel, back road. Get out from there and face me! Kids, you're going to have to shoot me! Hold it! Can't record! Turn around! You want to kill him? Come on!
And we're back, like we never left. Got a little less facial hair, as you can see. Just got tired of it. I was not enjoying the beard life. So here we are, once again, clean shaven. But welcome to the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your late Saturday afternoon into early evening here with me in the car in New York. But once again, we're going to skip past all that promotional jazz and get right to the guts of the episode. The 23rd entry in our apparently popular series of guilty pleasure movies. And this is a film that didn't get great reviews. It didn't get the terrible reviews of some of the, for example, the Sylvester Stallone-esque and literal guilty pleasure movies such as, Get Carter with 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, The Specialist 11%. This movie got representative, reasonable reviews, and it got made over 100 million at the box office, so technically it was a box office hit. But one of its stars, a supporting character in this movie, but as big a star as there is, Robert Downey Jr. has gone on record as saying that he did not have a particularly good time making this film. He wasn't doing that great personally, and he thinks it's not good. He jokes around a lot, so I don't know, maybe he was just fucking around, but he said it's one of the worst action movies of all time. Completely disagree with him. This is every bit a guilty pleasure movie. And we're talking, of course, about Stuart Baird's 1998 follow-up, kind of a sequel, well, it is a sequel, to Andrew Davis's fantastic 1993 The Fugitive with Harrison Ford as the title character, Dr. Richard Kimball, and Tommy Lee Jones, who won the Oscar, probably shouldn't have, but he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for films released in 1993, beating out, big hitters like Pete Postlethwaite in the Name of the Father. A lot of people thought he should have won. Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List, and my guy, John Malkovich, the future Teddy KGB, as Mitch Leary in the Line of Fire. But The Fugitive was such a runaway hit, and the character of Sam Gerard, he was actually Phil in the TV show from the 60s with Clint Eastwood's buddy, David Jansen. The character of Sam Gerard, as played by Tommy Lee, was so strong in that film that Warner Brothers decided to make a sequel. You couldn't really bring back Harrison Ford, and I guess you could. Nowadays, they would try to figure out a way to get Dr. Richard Kimball in it. Right? Like, what are you going to do? So they simply pick up with the team of U.S. Marshals headed by Tommy Lee Jones's Sam Gerard, and they're involved in a very similar case, or in this instance, it's a kind of ex-government operative played by Wesley Snipes, who was in he was in a period in his career where his star was starting to fade, and he was beginning to not get leads in major motion pictures, and he was getting instead these kinds of, at least in theory, juicy supporting roles. But the juiciest supporting role in this film is Robert Downey Jr. And I do feel that from the broader perspective that RDJ, because he does have a really good sense of humor about himself, and in general, he's a funny guy. We've seen him be very humorous, not just in the MCU, but in film comedies. His timing is impeccable. Now, I know multiple people that have the one that he did with Marissa Tomei from 94, Only You. Top 3, great romantic comedies ever. Love that movie. He's one of those people. He's great in whatever he does. So he might rag on this film, but his performance is right where it's got to be. He does not take this movie off. So yeah, he might have had a shitty time. He may have been in recovery and feeling like crap, But Robert Downey Jr., when he is working, he is never less than there. The previous year, and it was shot not that long before, he did a film with Kenneth Branagh called The Gingerbread Man, a kind of low-key Bayou-style mystery. I know Daryl Hannah was in it and Robert Duvall was in it, and it's not a huge role for RDJ, but he brings it there too. So in this film, if you want to say, because it's such a colorful performance and kind of surprising the way the character, he plays an FBI guy named John Royce, who is called in to help Gerard try to find this former government operative played by, as I say, Wesley Snipes, who appears to have bumped off a couple of other government guys. So he's not technically a fugitive, but he's on the run. And Wesley can run. Wesley has shown the incredible athleticism, the martial arts, and a guy who is not afraid to do his own stunts, even when the studio says, Wesley, we can't let you do this. I didn't ask for permission. I'm doing it. So the movie takes a similar form to The Fugitive. And I don't think that that's a negative, because the characters, the U.S. Marshals, are so colorful. I mean, Joe Pantoliano is just, no matter what he does, the guy is fucking gold. So he's terrific as a kind of right-hand man. The other actors, was it CCH Pounder, I think, plays one of the members. I don't remember the name of the actor who plays Noah Newman. But they're just so colorful, and they make you believe that they are a real team, not just a bunch of actors who get together to make a movie. The chemistry between them is also a major selling point. And I like the fact that there's more going on in the story. There's a lot of different components. So, like, for example, in The Fugitive, we know that Harrison Ford didn't kill his wife, because we just know. We saw the flashback, whatever, the one-armed man, the whole thing. But this movie, it takes an approach where there's a chance that Wesley Snipes actually did it, and what's going to happen. And Wesley is very committed. He's really in this, and he shaved his kind of trademark mustache. He does this movie clean shaven, and they cast a European actress I really like, Irene Jacob, who kind of plays his girlfriend. And there was a lot of jokes about the fact that they just threw in a token, European star to sell the film to the international audience. And I know that's exactly why they cast her, but it still works. And she's actually very, very likable within the world of the film. So Wesley went from this to Blade. He shot Blade right after he finished. And when I say right after, I mean within a couple of months, but right after he finished work in this film. But I just remember seeing the trailer for this movie and being shocked when I realized Wesley's playing a supporting character. He's played nothing but leads since about 1991 and New Jack City. He's had one lead role where he basically is the alpha. He did it in New Jack City. He did it in White Men Can't Jump. He did it in Passenger 57. He did it in Boiling Point. He did it in Drop Zone. One movie after another. Sugar Hill. And let me tell you, you want to talk about a guy who could have gotten an Oscar nomination for a lead role in the early 90s? Wesley Snipes in New Jack City. You tell me that is not an Oscar-worthy performance. You can't. Oh, Jungle Fever, another one. So he was kind of making a bit of a turn into character actor territory. Money Train with Woody Harrelson and Jennifer Lopez film debut. Man, he turned out a lot of movies. I don't even know where that guy ever sat still in that era. Man, that's crazy how much he was working. See, when you're going through it, you're watching movies, you're reading about it. But until just now, I didn't realize just how busy Wesley Snipes was. So it's not as good. It's not as good as The Fugitive. It's not even close. But the film is entertaining all the way through. And the introductory scene of Robert Downey Jr.'s John Royce, it happens, if you remember in The Fugitive, there is a bus crash. Well, in the world of this film, I think it's an airplane. I don't know if it was a full-on, 737 crash, but Wesley's character escapes in that way. The way that Harrison Ford escapes because of the bus fuck-up, he escapes in the swamps, some kind of a plane crash. So immediately, and after the movie is over, we start to think about, why was RDJ sent here? Why did they do that? They didn't send anybody in the first movie. So he shows up, and right away, he is tested by Gerard. And the scene, is phenomenal. You can argue that the single best scene in the movie is Robert Downey Jr. getting to show that he is not somebody to fuck with. And if you do, I'm going to give it to you right back. Just be wary that, yeah, I might be wearing a suit. I might look like I'm wet behind the ears. But I am an FBI agent. You know, it's like Keanu Reeves 6 years earlier. I'm Johnny Utah and I am an FBI agent. But there is a sense, who the fuck is this kid? But he's a real deal. Basically, Gerard puts him in handcuffs. And in about 30 seconds, RDJ's John Royce, with the confidence of a veteran, he gets himself out of the cuffs. And I think he actually breaks the cuffs in the process. It's a fantastic scene and an introduction to a character that could have, again, this is one of those roles, it could be a throwaway. And I'd like to think that Downey Jr., if he's, you know, having an okay day and talks about this film, he's not just going to trash it, because he's underrating the chemistry that he has with the rest of the cast. He has great scenes with Tommy Lee Jones and some real good work between him and Joe Pantoliano. So he's in so much of the movie that it almost turns into a lead, although he is introduced, 20, 25 minutes into the film. The movie does take the form of a chase, and the audience is not as ahead of the story as it is in The Fugitive. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know for 100% certain. Now, we know that the U.S. Marshals are the good guys. We don't know what the story is with this Mark Sheridan, the Wesley character. Is he a good guy who got screwed or got framed, or is he actually just, is he just bad? Is he some kind of a turncoat or traitor or whatever the case might be? So in this movie, there is a chase sequence where Wesley, he kind of has to leave his girlfriend behind. It's a little bit like Mr. De Niro in the movie Heat, where he gives that speech about, you got to be willing to walk away from absolutely everything in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner. Well, in the world of this film, Wesley does not want to ditch his lovely, as Newsday's John Anderson said, creme brulee of a girlfriend. What a great quote that was, man. I don't know that he would necessarily say that today, but he's like, it's his creme brulee of a girl. So he has to ditch her, and he takes off, as only Wesley Snipes of that era, just fucking running. Willie Mays Hayes in the movie Major League, he's running like he's running. So he makes an escape. He makes an escape where he does some kind of a jump using, I don't know if it was a rope. It's some kind of a rope. And he basically, it's almost as if he's parachuting from a building onto a moving train. I don't have any idea how they achieved this stunt or what they did to achieve the shot. And I've seen a lot of stuff in my illustrious, movie-going life and all of the reading I've done. But I don't exactly know how they pulled this off. But just that one stunt of Wesley somehow leaping, it's almost as if he's rappelling. But he's not rappelling down on a building. It's like he's rappelling from a building onto a moving train. I don't know how the fuck they did it. But that stunt is as good as anything from the original The Fugitive. What this movie also has is an enormous, huge plot twist. And this doesn't appear to be a kind of movie that's going to have a big plot twist. This puts forth and it sets itself up and it unfolds like the original, but it unfolds like a conventional action thriller. Yeah, there are suspense elements, but that's not the same thing. It looks like this is going to go on a certain path, and it's going to turn out that Mark Sheridan is either guilty of what they're going to charge him with, or he was framed. And that's going to be the story. Can Mark Sheridan, Wesley Snipes, can he prove that I didn't do anything wrong? I've been set up from the word go. This is bullshit. But then as the third act begins, we have a stunning character reveal and reversal, which spins the story into, a pretty exciting third act. And then at that point, the audience is finally ahead of most of the major characters. And that kind of puts you in a weird, because you're not really sure what you want, who we rooting for. Do we want Gerard to do this? But I think the film, and I saw it in theaters, I thought it was super entertaining. I would have given it 3 stars out of 4. The Fugitive is a movie I really like, but again, if you ask me what was the best action film of 1993, if the choices are The Fugitive or In the Line of Fire, the answer is In the Line of Fire. It's just a better movie, and it doesn't have any kind of slack moments or plot movements where you say, well, this is bullshit. I have never thought the third act of The Fugitive is up to par with the rest of the movie, because the first hour and a half is incredible. It kind of goes a little weak in the last pieces. I just like in that one where it's kind of a twist. I never bought it. The character does things at the service of the plot, and they're not logically sound, given that the character I'm talking about is very intelligent. I don't buy any of what he does. I just don't buy it. You know, what can I say? This movie doesn't have as tight of a story. And also, you know, Harrison Ford, not the most expressive actor, his entire career, one Oscar nomination for the movie Witness in 1985, and he did not win. That was the year that William Hurt won for Kiss of the Spider-Woman. But Harrison Ford, without necessarily being Laurence Olivier up there, in The Fugitive, he makes you feel so much empathy for his character. It might as well be Olivier. It's a fantastic performance. Quiet, interior, solemn, mournful, because his wife is gone. Almost more upset about that than the fact that he might get the, death penalty or whatever it could be. The stakes aren't the same here from a broader sense. But if every character were to get bumped off, well, then the stakes are pretty fucking high, right? It's all a matter of how you look at it. Now, I remember, and some of you might remember this as well, about 2 years ago, maybe a little over 2 years ago, U.S. Marshals actually hit Netflix. And it's the kind of movie, of course, Gen Xers, people such as myself, well, we remember the movie. But I remember reading articles at the time, the kind of stupid shit you get on your phone, Screen Rant, Empire, all of this sort of stuff. But there were a number of articles written about, and they kind of tease it with, 25-year-old Robert Downey Jr. movie that most people don't know is tearing up Netflix, or, words to that effect. We always see articles like that. We're supposed to guess the movie. Well, when I saw that it was on Netflix, well, I just turned around and I watched it again. I hadn't seen it in probably 15 years at that point. And it worked just as well as I remembered. It was just as entertaining. And there was actually a week that it was the #1 most watched title, because a lot of people, I hate to show my age, as I often do. I can't help it, right? Whether I'm clean shaven or not. But a lot of fans of the MCU whose immediate identification with Robert Downey Jr., it's not Chaplin, where he probably should have won Best Actor and didn't. Al Pacino, who I love, ended up winning for Screaming and Yelling a Lot in Scent of a Woman. But the immediate identification for Downey Jr. is not Chaplin. It's not Shortcuts. It's not those sorts of movies where he was really making it. It's not Less Than Zero, which I to this day think is still his greatest achievement as an actor. It's just unbelievable how good he is in that film. Or even True Believer with James Woods, another big hitter, a guy who chews scenery like William Shatner, only he's a much better actor than Shatner. That's like the only movie where Downey Jr. disappears, because James Woods is so dominant, he's so strong that you almost forget, oh yeah, Robert Downey Jr. has almost as much screen time. He just sits there and lets Woods dominate as only he can. But people under 35, and especially under 30, they didn't even know the movie U.S. Marshals existed, and they stumble into it saying, oh my God, look how young Tony Stark is. And the general sense was, this is a super entertaining film. I didn't get the idea that, oh, what a piece of shit this is, or was. So again, RDJ in his little devilish way saying, yeah, it's the worst action movie ever. Bullshit. No, it's not. The level of detail, the craftsmanship, the editing is fantastic, and the stunt work is top notch. I could give you action movies where the stunts don't come off, and it's like, what the fuck are they doing here? But it had a very confident production. It had a big budget. And listen, Tommy Lee was 52, 53 years old at the time, and he's doing all kinds of stuff. He's really good. He's not as good as in The Fugitive, but the character isn't quite as interesting. Doesn't have as much shading as it did in the first film. He's more of a standard action hero. Not indestructible, although he's pretty fucking tough for a guy who looks like a normal person. But yeah, the film did really well, and I think a lot of people were surprised by how many eyeballs in front of the streaming sets, whether it's on TV or on your phone or your tablet, just how many people, probably like me, who had seen it, but a ton of people who probably never even heard of the movie and sat down and said, wow, this was really, really fun. What a surprising role for Robert Downey Jr. So right now, I don't think U.S. Marshals, it was on Max. I keep calling it HBO Max, but it's just Max now. I know that it was on Max for a time. As of right now, it might be free. You could check that site called Just Watch, which lists if a movie is free anywhere on any of the streaming apps, whether it's Pluto or Tubi or those, it will be listed. But I know that it's available to rent on Apple TV, Apple Plus, whatever it's called, and for a couple of bucks on Amazon Prime. This is not a great movie, but it is so much of a guilty pleasure because you have great actors in the movie and none of them are taking the film off. And there is something to be said for that, because there are disposable action films where you get the sense that actor A, actor B, actor C, whatever, are just here to pick up a paycheck. And nobody comes across in this film, least of all, the mocking, I suck, this sucks, this was not a fun movie to shoot, Robert Downey Jr., who is really, really impressive as FBI agent John Royce. And as is Tommy Lee. And Joey Pants, always great. You know, gets laughs. He just has one of those faces. And he went right from this. I think The Matrix was actually his next movie as Cypher. Man, what a great talent. What a great talent. Joe Pantoliano. Think about him all the way back in 1987. 2 huge movies. He plays the music, not music producer, but the kind of agent that helps Richie Valens get to the top in La Bamba. And the same year, his very next role, Empire of the Sun, with the future Teddy KGB, John Malkovich, opposite a 12-year-old Christian Bale. I mean, Joe Pantoliano, you just look at his filmography, and then he did Midnight Run in 1988, right after Empire of the Sun. Unbelievable, a great performer. Also, the last thing on U.S. Marshals is the use of locations. The location work is so on point. And it's not something that maybe the average film fan thinks of. Are they shooting on a soundstage? Are they using a real location? One thing I love about the movie, The Fugitive, they used as much in the way of real locations in The Line of Fire, which I mentioned before with Clint. They used so many real, in that case, Washington, D.C. locations. But U.S. Marshals, like when they're in a swamp with the wreckage of the plane, that ain't a soundstage. They're really in the shit there, and they're like in the bayou or wherever it is. I think it might be in the Everglades, but it feels real. It feels like they're actually at these places, and there's no beverage truck and there's no catering truck behind them. They're actually out there. I don't know. It really works. And so this movie, I would give 3 stars out of 4. But I defy you. Go in this movie. You've never seen it. You only know, oh, okay, Robert Downey Jr. I'm a fan. I like The Fugitive. I thought this sucked. I am going to go down on the hill that you will enjoy this movie. It is not going to be boring. It is a guilty pleasure. This is cinematic junk food because the story is not great, but it is so well made, and all of the actors hit their marks from beginning to end. U.S. Marshals, released in 1998, directed by Stuart Baird, and starring Tommy Lee Jones, Wesley Snipes, Joey Pants, CCH Pounder, and a terrific, regardless of what he says, Robert Downey Jr. as FBI agent John Royce. This has been episode 311 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I'd like to thank you all for spending some of your Saturday, late afternoon, early evening with me here in New York. If you check out this episode on the YouTube channel, haven't done so already, please click like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on those notifications. Or if you catch this episode on the audio platforms such as Spotify, Podbean, iTunes, or the other upon which we're hosted, same general rule applies. Click like, subscribe, share, and turn on those notifications. I'll be back with a new episode real soon. Until then, peace.